Welcome to the Shadow Things Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Shadow Things Podcast. I'm that guy, Brent.
I'm Vanessa Spencer.
And we're here to talk some shit today about a really cool, what is it, a docu-series?
First off, we're not talking shit.
Oh, we're talking
this thing up.
We're talking it up, and we're just talking.
This series is essential.
Yeah. I mean, not like shit talking what we're going to be talking about, but while we're going to be talking about all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I was talking about.
It's going to be good.
Let's just get into this shit. So we're going to be talking about the docu-series called Hellier.
You can find it on YouTube and Prime Video.
Yeah, Prime Video for free. So there's 2 seasons. You can watch both seasons for absolutely no cost. So if you want to really follow along with what we're talking about today, you probably want to, unfortunately, stop the podcast.
Stop listening right now and go watch it.
Yeah, because I will tell you that there is going to be spoilers galore in this this podcast about Hellier. So,
but if you're into that shit, then stay tuned.
Yeah, and from my end, I mean, there's going to be spoilers, but I really want to give away. Not give away. I just want to kind of talk about the deeper things in there, and just kind of get into the nitty gritty about what we see on screen, and then talk about maybe what we think of what's going on with the whole fucking series.
I don't mind saying what the fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely one of those type of shows where when I watched it, the thing I first saw it on, I was bored shitless, and I was scrolling through Prime Video for something. I think I was looking for like Bigfoot shit or something to watch, or maybe some UFO stuff. But I seen the Goblin, the famous Goblin,
the Hellier Goblin,
the Hellier Goblin on the thing, and it said Hellier, and I'm like, well, hell yeah, you know what I mean? So I was like, yep. So I checked out the trailer, and I was like, or is there a trailer? So I just hit play, I think, and I will say from about the first 10 minutes on, I was hooked.
It's weird. Because the second, when Greg's like, Greg or Karl, one of the two, he's like, the synchronicities, and I was glued.
Yeah, that was like one of the first couple of sentences they started talking about the synchronicities, which is very prominent in the show. I mean, every episode.
You'll hear that word a lot.
They really find a lot of these so-called synchronicities that kind of guide their path through the whole adventure. But so what's Hellier about? Just give kind of an overview about what we're talking about.
So this paranormal group, they were ghost hunters.
And by the way, if you guys hear like a slurpy sound, I'm just getting a drink here. So
word. It's a group they just did ghosts, like dead ass. They just did ghosts, and they got this like chain of these strange emails from this guy, David Christie, and claimed to live in. It was in Hellier, Kentucky.
He actually, when you go back and look, and I've watched it 3 times, and I think you've watched it at least twice. It does not. His email doesn't specify Hellier during that first one. It just
That's
says,
why I was questioning what I was about to say. Like, wait.
It's like on the border between, or on the Kentucky border.
The narrator.
Yeah, with that cool voice.
But no, so.
Oh, real quick, did you know that snippet of that David Christie email that first went to Greg Newkirk was not actually the entire snippet?
Really?
If you go to the one podcast, Euphomet, podcast where they're talking about the Kentucky Goblins case. If you go back and listen to that actual podcast episode, the entire full-length email is available. So you don't actually see the entire email on Hellier.
Wow.
It goes into a little... It didn't cut out much, but there are some important things that I think maybe should have been left in there, but it is what it is. It's still a great opening. You know, they just get a estranged email and fucking off they go.
Down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, so what happens next?
So he gets the emails. This guy's claiming that there's weird shit happening around his house. Goblins took his dog. Just off the chain shit.
I forgot they took the dog.
Yeah.
I'm calling the ASPC.
I'm calling PETA.
Job and family.
Is PETA correct?
PETA, yeah. I like wheat pitas with tuna.
Oh, fuck.
Okay.
So basically, this guy's just saying all this off the chain shit. He's finding three-toed footprints in his yard or whatever, in the mud.
It's very important not to call it mud, by the way. It's called slurry.
I thought it was just slur.
No, it's slurry. Slurry is the shit that blows out of a mine after time.
So even makes it a little more suspicious is it's slurry prints. Right. There's three-toed prints in the slurry. And just all this bizarre shit. He catches a picture of what he claims to be this creature that's coming to his windows, and
which is pretty creepy looking. Like,
like
it legit looks like that profile shot. And here's a couple of spoilers. There's a profile shot of this supposed alien goblin or whatever it is, peeking around
a tree,
and it's like, it's pretty cool looking. Like, you can tell that whoever sent this probably didn't fake it, because it's not a great picture.
Yeah.
But it's awesome because you can clearly see, and I don't think it's matrixing or pareidolia or anything like that. I think there's something there. I don't know if that's from the case and I have my own opinion about this whole Hellier thing, and at the end we'll share that.
Yeah.
You know? But very cool pictures. And you were talking about the three-toed footprints this guy named David Christie had sent in the emails, second or third emails.
A picture of the prints.
What's fascinating to me is that they have the dermal ridges in the
that bothers
footprints.
me.
Yeah, it's like a real biological creature.
Yeah, with skin, like with some sort of
just like we have dermal prints. So, that picture was either a pretty good hoax or
I just don't feel that way.
It was a fucking goblin.
Yeah.
So, but here's my question: Where's the rest of the prints? Why didn't David Christie get the trailing? So if it's heavy enough to make an indentation of one print or two, even, or maybe even three, where does it go? Where's it coming from? Now they did say,
it's an excellent point. They
did say later on in the episode they were talking to a couple of those hill guys.
Yeah.
I almost was rude, but I'm not going to be.
Nah.
Some of those Jim Bobs down there.
Yeah.
And we're very clear about the fact that slurry, that quote-unquote slurry, was very wide for being slurry. It was a wide path. So there was a large amount of slurry. Why did David Christie not capture the trailing
just one
conclusion?
Print.
Yeah, it's, I think, one print. That was prominently featured in Hellier.
Yeah, that's what we know.
And I'm not blaming Hellier. I think it's good evidence. But if David Christie had these little bastards all over the property and they were making prints all over the place, where's all of the footprints?
And now they technically never said that anything, not to my knowledge, about, and I watched this twice, like, been dedicated, sit down and binge. What, like, they never actually said that there were paths or, like, leaving prints everywhere. No. He just said, here's this print that I found.
I'm just thinking outside the box.
No, like, that's a good point.
Yeah,
I never even thought about that.
When game trackers hunt, deer and other game wildlife, they're looking for, the initial prints or the tall tale signs. But tracking is tracking. It's to track where the creature, the animal went.
Yeah.
So you certainly should be able to track those footprints further. But this was an email that came unsolicited to like you said, just a ragtag group of ghost hunters at the time. Well, actually, just to kind of go back on that, they were not ragtag when they received the email. So Greg and Dana Newkirk had a couple of rival ghost hunting groups back in the day, and Greg's was called Ghost Hunters Inc., and they stopped doing that for a period of time, and the website just kind of sat there as he described in the film or the series. And, you know, and I've had websites just sit there because, you know, it's kind of a labor of love that you don't want to just hit delete.
Yeah.
And it just sat there for a while, but got the unsolicited email about these goblins from this guy named David Christie. And what should I expect? If David Christie could show all the prints, why wouldn't he just solve the case? You know, so dummy me for criticizing the footprint. But the footprint was really cool. What else was strange about the David Christie stuff?
He disappeared. And now there's in between stuff, but that's just what jumps out at me is that as quickly as he came, he was gone.
Yeah.
The email stopped, and
so the investigative team, so we'll talk about who they are in a second, but they concluded finally, after records not showing any sign of this David Christie fella, that he was fake. At least his persona was not real.
They found record of David M. Parsons.
Yeah, David Parsons, didn't that come to be somebody that was associated with that random house that they found or something like that? I could be wrong.
I feel like I recognize what you're saying. I could be wrong too. I feel like there's some truth to that.
Had something to do with David Parsons, and then the Parsons last name became part of the whole synchronicity.
Kept popping up everywhere for these
hole.
people. Yeah.
So so it all started with the David Christie emails that came out of the blue into a defunct website, and then Greg had sent a couple of replies back. Yada yada. They got interested and said, "Fuck it, we'll do the case."
Now, come correct. David Christie claimed he claimed that somebody had sent him their way and said that they could help, and that,
which is a huge part of the series,
is Terry Wrist.
Yeah, but there's a middleman in there and nobody knows who it is. So it was a friend of David Christie who was friends with Terry Wrist, who recommended Greg Newkirk to help.
Which is interesting.
And Greg doesn't know who the fuck Terry Wrist is.
Word.
So they go and they check out, do some research on who this Terry Wrist could be. And automatically they think the name is a play on the words terrorist. And
rightfully so.
And ufology and those circles. A lot of names are, I don't know if you call them acronyms, but just twists, plays on different words that make sense to the author. But the name Terry Wrist, the only reference they could find came back to a book that was written by an author named Alan Greenfield, and it was like the secret cipher of the UFO. Yeah, there you go. Which I would like to check out. I haven't, but somewhere in I think it's like in the end or the indexes, there's an interview between Greenfield and this Terry Wrist. Mm-hmm. And Terry Wrist was a ex-Vietnam veteran who formed a quote-unquote kick-ass alien cave-based team with other vets that went underground and kicked the shit out of aliens that lived under the earth.
Or goblins. Or
whatever.
At this point.
Whatever
we don't
shit
know.
They are. But, so that's the link they found to this Terry Wrist. What's interesting is that maybe like 3 or 4 episodes in, they started getting fucking emails from Terry Wrist.
Yeah. After
they had kind of let the case go cold, and they went to the Brown Mountain, South Carolina area, or North Carolina, I can't remember.
North.
And we're checking out a supposed
coordinates.
Yeah, the coordinates of well, hold on. They were checking out this alien cave base entrance with a guy named Micah Hanks.
Yeah.
And they went and did all that, and when they got back, they got an email from a T Wrist.
Yeah.
Terry Wrist. And it said some obscure shit like...
Weird shit.
Yeah, like the ink and the black, and
yeah.
the order is MIA or something like that, but included little snippets of pieces of paper that had these numbers on them. Then they, ran the numbers, and somebody said it looks like coordinates. Well, the coordinates, if you plug them into Google Earth, latitude and longitude look like they're right in the area of that Brown Mountain alien cave base entrance that they just left. And the email said something to the effect, you were so close, why did you stop?
Yeah.
But the investigative team, the Newkirks, Connor Randall, and Karl Pfeiffer, didn't tell anybody about their trip down there at that time. So it wasn't public knowledge.
Yeah.
And they get this email all of a sudden, which is pretty freaky. If the whole Hellier case and show is legitimately how things went down.
I just can't see it any other way.
I couldn't write a movie that would jive that well, so.
No. That would take a lot of patience.
Yeah, there's speculations that whole series is just the creative mind of someone, which is good entertainment, but coming from that world too, I mean, I got to believe these guys
I can't see any other way around it.
Are really on to something, they believe it, and I've seen weird shit too, but so yeah, they're introduced to David Christie at first, then this Terry Wrist, and then they know about this Greenfield fella, Alan Greenfield, and then the whole show just goes into a bunch of other stuff. So they finally get to Hellier.
Yeah.
So they get to Hellier. So Hellier is in Pike County, Kentucky. And like we said earlier, nobody down there has heard of David Christie. So the first thing they go down there and do is they park at this fucking gas station, right?
The hub of Hellier.
Hub. And I'll get into this more too, but I've been to that gas station.
I didn't even know that. See, that's cool.
Yeah, the gas station's pretty tight. I got a picture of it. But it's not tight, by the way. So they go to this gas station and just start talking to people. It's like the only thing you really know how to do. Hey, do you know David Christie? No. And then there's a bunch of Jimmies that's telling them to kind of watch their backs and don't be careful who you trust. And
just weird shit.
The guy's got a bunch of skull in his mouth, like, don't be trusting them fuckers.
Makes the spit sound.
Yeah, boy. And that's kind of how it is down there. But start talking to people, have no idea about no David Christie, and really haven't had any encounters with goblins or coming out of caves. There's a lot of caves down there, but
that was the theme, though. A lot of these people said they never experienced anything, but then later in the conversation be like, well,
yeah, well, there's one time that Bigfoot snatched Granny off the porch.
I seen the Mothman.
Seen that Mothman. Well, and then they told the story about. Here's something that bothered me about the documentary, which I think that should have been different. So it's not shit talking, but I'm going to be real with it. So right about that time, they had some of the locals come out and recount the story of the UFO that hung out for hours and hours over top of the...
That story was crazy to hear.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And they said it was just there. And
cylinder.
It was a cylinder shape, too, like two of them really close. And it was on the news. So I was like, man, this is cool. It was in that paper.
Hang on, I'm about to slurp. Hold on.
She's going to slurp. But it was in that newspaper. It was even on the news, the local news down there in Pike County. So the documentary took that as some shit that was weird down there. So they have UFO sightings. They got the goblin shit. The emails. Everything's kind of spooky. But what the documentary failed to do... And maybe they did not uncover this. And they're very brilliant people, like some of the best people out there, investigative wise, in this type of, in these circles. But that that UFO sighting was debunked in 2013. And
really?
Yeah, the Hellier release was in 2019, I believe. So I think both seasons, but 6 years ago that thing was debunked.
Well, what was it?
So it was Google. Yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking.
Wow.
So I researched it, and there was a Google financed tech venture called Project Loon, that the goal was to suspend cylinder-like high-pressure helium balloons over top of rural Appalachia in order to get internet to unconnected parts of the country. That's all that was.
Interesting.
It's verified that was Project Loon. Those balloons actually were tethered at one point and then floated up into Canada from the Appalachia, southeastern Kentucky area.
Wow.
No UFOs, easily researchable, but in the documentary it comes off as a fantastical UFO sighting. But I just wanted to bring that to light.
I'm glad you did, because I really thought that was a thing.
Yeah, it's I think it's in the Washington Times even, but yeah, it was debunked. Center for Skeptical Inquiry kind of tore that up as well, but I was excited about that when it was in the...
Me too.
Yeah, because man, you could see it on the video and everything.
And that's not far from us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not far at all, but yeah, not a what was a UFO, because nobody knew what the fuck it was, but
yeah.
In the true sense, it was something that we had put up there. It was very high too. It was 60,000 feet in the air.
Wow.
Yeah, and just a balloon.
That's insane.
Yeah.
See,
So, but that made it.
You're gonna hear my chair. Hold on.
That gave the, the beginning parts of Hellier some appeal that strange shit was going on there. And then I want to talk about a little bit of, Dana Newkirk. She...
Love her.
Yeah. She had mentioned sort of in her the intimate interviews, they're in her living room at the beginning, and she's talking about how they felt when they got to Hellier. When they first got there, they go through this little road and there's these tall pillars, and Connor Randall had said something to the effect of it felt like they were forgotten. The town was forgotten, and and you kind of do get. By the way, them pillars are not there. They are there, but they're part of a complete bridge system now. So there's actually a bridge that goes.
They finished it.
Yeah. I don't know if it's finished, but there is a bridge.
Okay.
So, but there is a lot of construction and stuff. So.
Okay.
So yeah, but anyhow, Dana had mentioned that she felt very uneasy down there, and they got these guys saying "watch your back" and stuff like that. So, I can say without a doubt that feeling is down there, but really, for me it's uncomfortable because I know what goes on down in that part of southeastern Kentucky, and it's not all butterflies and rainbows for sure. A lot of drugs, a lot of crime. As you know, you and I have actually been in that part of...
I was getting ready to say the property that we stayed at was so uncomfortable when I was a kid. Well,
so we have visited that area of western West Virginia and southeastern Kentucky. It's kind of the tri-state area, but there's a creek that runs through Hellier. It's called Marrowbone Creek. That's the same creek that goes in front of the house that you and I stayed at. Along a road called Jenny's Creek, which is it's probably 15 miles north of Hellier, but the same hollers, as they call it.
Oh yeah.
And we have actually ran the roads of Hellier to and from the highways. You didn't know it, but we did.
Wow.
So, but back in those days, and not to get all wrapped up in this, but I went four-wheeling one time with a bunch of Yimity U's down there.
I can't.
And it was a ye old time for sure, but it scared the shit out of me because the guys that I went four-wheeling with, they were all local.
Right.
And they were cool.
Yeah.
But just like Dana was referring to, I got that uneasy feeling. These guys took us up into this power line park nearby. It's kind of like just an open area where they had carved out the woods for power lines and stuff. It was like a South Central Power type deal.
Yeah.
I don't know where exactly. It's probably closer to Elkhorn City or somewhere over in that area. Old strip mine where they ran power lines through and stuff like that. But anyhow, we got out there And we stopped, and there's nothing out there. And this one guy, one of the Hellier locals, he was like, "Yeah, you don't want to fuck around out here."
Not the accent.
And he looked at me. He goes, "'Cause you'll wind up getting thrown in a fucking hole and forgot about."
Oh my.
Yeah, dude was cool, but he was trying to scare me like I was some city fuck. Well, actually, I was.
Yeah.
And I was scared.
So you never went four-wheeling ever again after that, right?
No, I did not.
Nope.
I did
not
not.
a chance in hell.
That guy was not part of the family that we were with, but he was a friend of the family. But he did say that, and then the guy that I was with, I can't say names, but
yeah,
he was like, "Yeah, this struck me funny because of Hellier." He's like, "Yeah, there's a lot of caves down here people disappear in."
Shut up.
I remembered that when I was researching, kind of putting notes together for the show today. Last night, I remembered that, and I was like, I remember that guy saying something about I remember him talking about vertical cave shafts that went straight down and then went, kind of horizontal. But I don't know why they meant to say that, or what the reasoning was, but I said a lot of people would disappear. A lot of crimes and bodies would find their way down these shafts.
And that brings me back, circling back to Hellier, and this jumps way far ahead, but I'll be all over the place today because this whole case is just so exciting to me.
Let's be real though. It's called Hellier.
Hellier. So towards like mid to end of the second season, they start talking about secret societies and shit.
Right.
And like secret crimes and like just weird shit.
Right.
And that's what that reminds me of. People, just bad people and weird people and getting thrown into caves.
Gotta be devil worshippers down there
worshipping.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Gotta be some weird shit going on down there. But there's a lot of crime.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Jimmy families that do not take to strangers.
No.
And I got a lot of that. I remember the person that I was with at that time said if a fight breaks out in the family while we're visiting, stay the fuck out of it. I was exclusively told, even if they punch me in the face, stay out of it.
And this is the same family that I was around?
Yes, and that's why I didn't wind up in a hole. I'm not part of the Goblin Cave legend. But just to kind of summarize all that, there are a lot of caves out there.
Yeah.
There are a lot of bad people that don't give a shit. I mean, but tying that into something spooky, I'm not 100% sure. Now, I will say that I also heard stories from not those same people, but on those trips down there, I asked an older couple about bear sightings once.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, we get the bears and stuff rolling around the hills here, but we also have werewolves.
Shut up.
And I was like, what are you talking about? And they was like, yeah, if you go up around something knob and up a mountain, you get to the top of the mountain and there's a fence line that has no trespassing, property, U.S. government. I don't know how true that is because in my research, I don't know of any government installation up there, but supposedly, according to these elder locals in the Hellier area, there's the top of the mountain with some government fence with some area you can't get in. Well, there's supposedly hunters have seen this half man, half wolf type looking thing up there, and the local legend is that it escaped from whatever the hell's beyond the fence because it was some part of mutations and government shenanigans. So there's a werewolf in Hellier, I guess. But I didn't hear anything about goblins or anything. But I did see a raccoon get fed Doritos down there.
That's sick.
It was a pet.
Do you remember when you took me snipe hunting?
Oh, yeah.
On that very
Hold
property?
on. Wait a fucking minute. Snipes are fucking goblins.
Anything's possible.
Because they were under the ground. And
Yeah.
they were about yay tall. Oh, speaking of... Did you know that the Hellier gang, the alien cave base kicking ass task force or whatever they labeled it as, which is cool, closely tied the Hellier Goblins of David Christie's property into the Hopkinsville Kelly Kentucky Goblins case is about 60 years ago.
Yeah.
So the Sutton family, they saw these goblin aliens that appeared in the windows and was flying around the trees and shit.
Yeah.
They start shooting at him, became a big sensation in the news, and then Project Blue Book, the U.S. government, actually took the case on, couldn't find explanations for it, blah, blah, blah. Then they finally said it was a hoax. So they labeled the goblin thing as a hoax. There's a lot of evidence that determined that the Sutton family was drunker than shit. I'm not saying they were, but it is western, southern part of Kentucky.
The likelihood.
You know, down in Naugatuck, you know what I mean? You get the guy named Popcorn out there in the still.
Shut up.
They may have been intoxicated. I think that the investigations back then found that they were tipping the bottle a little bit.
Sipping on Grandpa's cough syrup.
So the conclusion by the government was a hoax, but a lot of UFO investigators and the ufology circles label it as a case of mistaken identity, where people just thought it was aliens and goblins and all that, but it was really the great horned owl. As in the same thing that they blame Mothman on in Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
I don't. After the fourth kind, I don't fuck with owls.
Yeah, owls are I don't want them bastards at my window.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so good.
So the Hellier team ties in the Hopkinsville case to their own little adventure, and then tie in the Mammoth Cave system, which runs all throughout Kentucky and different parts of other states.
And you've been there, right?
I've been to Mammoth Cave, yeah. Yeah, I've been to Cave City. They talked about where the little girl came up to him and said, yeah, the children come out of the caves and they're little monsters. And
oh, hell no.
so I've been to Cave City, and
Yeah.
it's just like Greg described. It's like a tourist trap with big dinosaurs and little restaurants and stuff. But no, I'll tell you what, the cave is creepy. Like Mammoth Cave is creepy, but I've never been into any other caves down there. It is the largest cave system, I think, in the world.
Really?
Yeah, so
Kyle and I talked about going there. Like, it popped up. He watched it. My husband watched it for the first time with me just this last time. I went through it. He's obsessed. He's so invested. But they talked about Mammoth Cave and Cave City and stuff like that. He's ready.
Yeah.
Like, he's ready to roll.
That's cool.
But
Yeah, it's
trips.
So I could see where, from a crypto side, if there's something living in caves and you got a strange case over here on this part of the state, and you look at the Hopkinsville, Kelly Hopkinsville case that occurred 60 years ago, that you might tie in that there's maybe some goblins in the caves and they come out and terrorize people every now and again. But Hellier, the series, is much more than goblins. Hellier touches on spirituality, ancient, I don't want to say mythology, but, deities and paganism and ufology, touches on Mothman. There's a nice tarot session, like in episode 3, that kind of dictates that they're, on a synchronicities thing. So they call them synchronicities, but they also define those synchronicities as the reason why they're able to have the adventure. One thing leads to another because they have these experiences. Each
synchronicity is like, you're on the right path, or you're on to something.
Right.
Or here's the next step.
Right.
So
I'm going to do this early. And I'm going to tell you what I think the whole thing is about.
Oh, God.
You dread me, don't you?
Sometimes.
Okay. So I am going to invent a new word, a new phrase in paranormal circles. And just remember, you heard it here first. So, SP, synchronistic pareidolia.
Oh.
So you don't like the word pareidolia because it reflects or relates to matrixing, or seeing faces in the clouds. But
Jesus in your toast.
Yeah, but not necessarily. So they get this email from David Christie, and it starts this whole, hey, go to Hellier and let's just see what it's about. Mm-hmm. Well, my thing is I think that they started experiencing these coincidental occurrences, and it propelled them forward, which is great for the show and for the adventure. But in my opinion, they have that that phrase, that kind of catch slogan that Hellier was just a symptom.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Hellier was not a symptom. I think that the journey was a symptom. I think, in my opinion, that they received this genuine email from an unknown person, and then they started this adventure. And once they got down there and they discovered absolutely shit leads, that they just happened to start experiencing these coincidences, which fueled their fantastic journey forward. Once you get a load of that type of synchronistic experience, you start to believe in it more, and you start looking for more synchronicities. Once you experience it once, like the whole thing about people seeing 1111, even I was a part of that, because I seen 1111 all over the place. Why? Because I was looking for it. I even created like little galleries on my Facebook with 1111. I seen that shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, why would they not go down there and have a few coincidental things, very fantastically timed things happen, and start looking for more? And then it just becomes like an adventure based on pareidolia. So
that I agree with. Like, at some point, you're going to just start habitually looking for this shit. Like Parsons. Or you're going to start looking for tin cans with no label.
Now, the tin can thing, that whole Estes experiment, that whole thing, the tin cans that you just mentioned, yeah. I don't know that was... I put stock into that experiment. I don't think that was pareidolia or coincidence. I don't think it was a synchronicity issue as well. I think it was something, I don't know, just some kind of communication that Connor had received.
That Estes method, that episode, and then the one where Dana is she's got the mask on, and she's doing it.
That took place at the TNT in Point Pleasant.
She's doing it Facebook Live.
Oh, that one, yeah.
And she just has all this weird shit coming through. Those two are like my favorite episodes because it's just so, like, it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
I guess my point was they get, now since Hellier was released, they get emails and messages all the time. Oh, I seen this fucking Mylar balloon in the woods.
Yeah,
like
which I went on to see with Mandy.
Yeah, and
wife.
You told me you seen...
Everywhere. We've seen them in Ashland, Ohio. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Asheville, Ohio.
Yeah.
And then right after that, I went on to investigate a case in Ashland, Ohio, which coincidentally is the same distance between Hellier and the TNT area.
I remember you explaining, like, mapping all this out for me.
Yeah, like the linear miles is the same. So there's a lot of coordinates that are coincidences.
Yeah.
But one would call them synchronicities that mean that it's a conspiratorial pointing of the finger. Hey, you're on the right track. You never know. You never know. So I think it was an adventure that I would have liked to have been a part of. And I think everything that happened was very exciting and real, but I don't know that it was tied into the David Christie email. I just don't.
The David Christie emails sort of get lost in this whole story.
Yeah, it was just a spark or a starting point for the Hellier team.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to call them besides the Hellier team. Is that about right?
That's about right. I love them all.
The team, yeah. So we have Connor Randall, who met Greg and Dana out at the Stanley in Estes, Colorado. Doritos. Along with Karl Pfeiffer, who was the guy that actually shot the film. And I want to make a second to say that the way that Karl put together that film was just mind-blowing. Like, I idolize his filmmaking.
100%.
The cinematics are off the chain. The music, which I think Connor did the score, the Hellier score theme, if I'm not mistaken. But
so well done.
Everything about the film, the way it was edited, I mean, he did a fantastic job. If it would have been a documentary about a turd that hardened and turned white over 8 episodes,
my ass would have been watching it.
It would have been awesome because Karl Pfeiffer made it.
Yeah.
Like, dude is killing.
He's great.
I really love the show. Do not mind my skepticism about what it was all about. I'm just keeping it real, but everybody was fantastic in it.
Oh, yeah.
Especially Dana. But so Dana was Craig's wife, and they live in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Or somewhere around there. I did see another show where it said they lived in I remember that little town in Kentucky.
I'm trying to think, and I'm not
forget.
totally even sure.
Newport. Yeah. But they live over there, and they run the museum, the traveling museum of occult and paranormal or something like that, which is pretty cool. And they're also they've made several appearances on TV and all this stuff, and they also run the Weekend Weird and Planet Weird websites. I think they were associated with Who Forted, which is a satire kind of website that I didn't appreciate back in the day.
Oh my!
But anyhow, they're very versed in paranormal. And then you have, we talked about Karl and Connor, but they all just kind of met at the Stanley, became friends, and were tied into this case through these so-called synchronicities, which I can't explain them. I'm not ready to say that David Christie and Indrid Cold had their fingers on the plot and sending them on these wild adventures. I just don't know what to think about that.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, it's a fantastic show. And speaking of, one of the things that they tie into heavily is the Mothman. Mm-hmm. So, I have a lot of experience with the Mothman thing, as you know. But
that's an episode in of itself.
Yeah, they start talking about Indrid Cold pretty heavily. If they received this email from this Terry Wrist and it had ink in the black and the third order is MIA and all this stuff, that stuff really does tie into the whole Indrid Cold alien MIB type experiences of the Point Pleasant 1967 era, which is interesting to me. Then there's an episode where they meet Woodrow Derenberger's, I think it's daughter. Yeah, and she's
Tanya,
yeah. And Woodrow Derenberger, just so everybody knows, is a contactee of the Point Pleasant case back in 67, 68.
Claims to have
encountered
and met
Indrid Cold
on
a highway near Parkersburg, West Virginia. And Indrid Cold, became a staple in ufology because of Derenberger's account. But in Hellier, the Hellier team actually went and met the daughter. The daughter, yeah, of Woodrow Derenberger, who claimed to have been in contact with
Indrid's sons.
Yeah.
Connor and Connard.
Yeah, that's right. And they said that Indrid died in a vehicle crash or
a ship crash.
Like a UAP UFO crash?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
I don't know where I fall on all that. But,
I don't either. But that's okay. The crew, at the time, probably even knew what the fuck to think of that.
Yeah.
But
when I read John Keel's Mothman Prophecies book, my impression through the whole thing was that Indrid Cold was an alien at first, and then I started picking up on he's a government guy. He's an MIB, Men in Black, but supposedly that where he actually lived in was it Ashland, Kentucky, right over the river from Ohio. Mm-hmm. Near the river there, and that's where I think it was Terry Wrist had found Indrid Cold, at a house or something like that.
There was a little shack next to the wagon wheel.
Yeah, the wagon wheel. Yeah. So there's evidence presented in Hellier that Indrid Cold was a real factual entity.
Call him a person, call him a being.
Fucking a spook or a government agent or...
I have no idea.
An alien. I don't know. I would like to think that he was an alien. His skin was pasty and melty, and he had he was said to have had a wire that ran into one part of his leg and out of the other, and talked mechanically. But Indrid Cold is a big part of the Hellier experience.
Now, related but unrelated, in the movie, The Mothman Prophecy...
I got to slurp.
Go ahead and slurp. Listen, though. So in the movie, The Mothman Prophecy, I haven't seen since I was a child because I fear it. Like, I don't even know if I, as an adult... And that sounds childish, but I don't know if as an adult I could sit through it comfortably, just for personal reasons. But basically...
You're not scared of the curse, right?
No. Okay. I question it. We'll get into that. But do they talk about Indrid Cold in that movie?
In the Mothman Prophecies?
Yeah.
No.
No,
so...
The phone calls is what I'm referring to. The guy gets phone calls.
So Richard Gere's character, which is loosely based on John Keel, the investigative role of John Keel, received phone calls in the movie while he was in Point Pleasant. Mm-hmm. And so does the character of I can't remember the actor's name, but he lives in the house and he enters the door and John Keel's there in the middle of the night and he pulls him in with a shotgun and all that stuff. His character, he kind of went insane in the movie. Mm-hmm. Was in contact with someone who claimed to be named Indrid Cold.
Okay.
So the name Indrid Cold was tied into the movie as well.
It comes in.
Yeah.
I was just making sure I wasn't crazy because, like I said, I was a child last time I saw that.
Yeah, you should really watch that again.
I know, I need to. I don't know why I'm in such discomfort about it, but I am.
It's a great movie. It's what kind of got me into it, which will come. I'll share all that in a later episode, but
that's essential.
Just for people that don't know, I guess I'll share this. But Mothman, Evil Incarnate, an unauthorized companion to the Mothman Prophecies, written by Lauren Coleman, back in the, I don't know, the 2002, 2003, maybe even a little later than that time period. I'd been in contact with Lauren about including my mom, your grandmother, into his Mothman death list curse as an addition, and lo and behold, he did put her in there. So she is like number 75 on the list, next to Robert Stack, who did Unsolved Mysteries as a host, who died of mysterious happenings, just like my mother did. And my mother was tied into the Point Pleasant enigma down there, and as was I, and I am mentioned in the book as well. But that's for another show.
An important show.
Heavy stuff there, but I'm glad the Hellier team linked in that stuff. I think it was highly relevant to their findings down there. Great investigative work, by the way, by that team. Like, never mind that I called it pareidolia. That's just a part of it.
You bring a good point.
Maybe the pareidolia is meant to be. I don't know. I applaud their spirituality and their all of their techniques. You know, they're trying to invoke Pan in the last episode.
Yeah.
The god Pan, and it's like, I'm not knocking that, because you do what you got to do to move forward. You know, if you think it's safe to do that, then do it. I don't know that I would go in a fucking cave and do what they did, but I mean, that was very kind of hard to watch. Like, I was scared for them.
Yeah. And
you could tell Greg was very apprehensive to do the invocation part of that ritual.
Yeah.
Because Dana was kind of like, oh, I want Greg to do it. He was like, yeah.
I'm good.
But, yeah, a lot of stuff happens in there. And then, you know, they venture off into different parts of that area of the United States. And it's primarily filmed and produced. You know, the production occurred in Kentucky, some in Ohio, and then, you know, some other parts. But great fucking show.
Oh, it's great.
Like, but I think that they stayed in a place called, I think, Jenkins.
That sounds correct.
Jenkins, Kentucky, which is a little fairly close to Hellier and Pike County there, I do believe. And by the way, Hellier is only 3.5 miles to the Virginia state border to the south. So it's very close to being right on the border. Yeah, 3.5 miles. But anyway, the Jenkins little cabin they had there was pretty tight. I mean, they did the person, if they took it on the facts the way it was presented, could not really explain why Connor was tying in things, and he was secluded from that conversation. He was tying in things that were happening around him. And the whole thing about the Estes thing is the receiver of whatever messages are coming through is isolated from his surroundings, all sensory deprivation.
Can't see people, obviously. Can't hear the conversations or the questions that are being asked.
Right.
So, I mean,
yeah.
Any messages that come through are just...
Yeah, and he was talking about, like, coyotes and things out in the yard, and, you know, like, it's over there, and he said Carl's name 500 times.
Yeah.
He said 48 minutes, which happened to be a time that tied into a phone call from
48.
Tyler Strand a little bit later, who's another person on the show that appeared a little later. I think maybe in season 2 only. I'm not sure. But,
you sure it was Tyler? I thought it was that old guy.
No, that 48 minutes, I believe, was Tyler Strand.
You could be right.
I think so.
I'm in a brain fog.
I could be wrong, too. And by the way, I did invite Tyler to come on this show.
Shit pants.
I was going to surprise you, but I think I had a bad contact, so I was all hyped up to maybe get Tyler to appear, but I think he would have. And I did listen to a lot of podcasts where the whole gang did appear on some podcasts, but yeah.
To even know that any of them listen to our bullshit today, like if you're watching, love you, but I will shit my pants.
Yeah, you even got your Planet Weird hoodie.
Represent.
Yep. So, but yeah, really great movie. It goes everywhere. I think there's a little something for everyone in the series.
That's what's
great about it.
I keep
calling it a movie. So they're about 50 minutes a piece, something.
Yeah.
Something like that. The Night of Pan, which is the last episode in season 2, where it kind of leaves everybody hanging, like, oh, where's season 3?
Yeah.
Was the longest part. The most watched, or I'm sorry, the most highly rated episode was, I think it was episode, I want to say 5 or 6 of season 2. And I don't remember what the hell happened, but there was some highs and lows for the viewers, like on IMDb.com, how they rated, like kind of a Rotten Tomatoes score. But there were some episodes where people thought they were stinkers, but there were some where people were just like, fuck, this is great. You know, so the series has its critics and its lovers, but I know it has a huge following.
Yeah.
And Greg's spoken out recently about the return of Hellier in season 3, and while there's no plans right now to have a return, he's not ruling it out. So maybe some things are going out. And a lot of people say that there's more than he's letting on to. I know that he was doing a project here recently. And he's also executive producer of some like animated show that's going out on, or happening in the desert out in the west part of the United States. But I think there's going to be a Hellier 3. I don't see how all the synchronicities just go, we're done.
I can't imagine they wouldn't keep the shit low key for obvious reasons, because they're getting messages and emails about Mylar balloons and tin cans constantly. You know what I mean? Like, and people are watching now.
Maybe that'll be a part of the show, or the next introduction to the next piece of evidence that gets them going again.
Yeah.
I don't know, but maybe the Night of Pan episode went somewhere, and we just seen it end.
I can't advocate, if that's even the right word, enough for people to watch this series. Like, yeah, it's essential.
It'll get you from the first episode for sure.
It will or it won't from the first episode, yeah.
Yeah, it will or it won't. But
I'm going to say it will.
Yeah.
It's very good.
So, what is your...
Hold on, I got to slurp.
I guess, what is your favorite part? I guess your favorite part of all of the episodes?
I really loved the interview with Alan Greenfield.
Really?
Yeah. I really there's something about Alan Greenfield that I love. I don't know what it is. He's
pretty calm. Like, I feel like you could hit him with a bat and the dude would just sit there and be like, yeah.
He would have his hands like this.
That was part of life.
Because that's what he does.
Yeah.
But I really, that was a good interview. He gave information, but it's like Like, he gave enough information, but at the same time, I don't know. I can't even explain it.
A lot of people think that the David Christie email came from Alan Greenfield. I think Greg and all them actually thought that at one point in the series as well.
There were a lot of people telling them, you're doing a ritual for Alan Greenfield.
I heard that too.
And it took me a minute to put, like, why would people say that? Because of the cipher. Correct?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure I'm not crazy. Like, that was why people were saying that, because they used the cipher. Which, I'm telling you, you just got to watch it to even know what the hell I'm talking about. But I loved that interview.
Well, if Alan Greenfield knew anything about the Newkirks, he would know that they could be people that could pull that ritual off.
Yeah.
Because Dana, she's a hedge witch.
Yeah.
You know, she's practicing, and Greg is involved in some ceremonial magic and stuff like that. But, you know, if Greenfield just was looking around the internet for somebody that could perform a ritual on his behalf, and he thought the Ghost Hunters Inc. website was still going, maybe he took a chance and was like, hey, I'll try these people. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe they'll get my ritual going. Because
he was a former, what did they call it? You know what I'm talking about?
A cult?
Yeah, but they called it something else. Like, he was a part of something. He's no longer a part of. Basically, people were saying you're doing this ritual for him because he can no longer pull it off.
I do recall. I'd have to look more into it.
Yeah. But no, that whole thing was like, it was a good part of the story.
Yeah, for sure. I thought that was good. I do think my favorite part of Hellier was the Estes experiment out in Jenkins on that porch of the cabin.
Very good.
When the stuff started happening, and even in the backyard when they first did that offering ritual with the tobacco and the candles.
Yeah.
They started hearing stuff behind them, but they didn't start hearing it until the ritual started, which is kind of spooky. Like,
it's spooky.
I feel like I wanted to be in that backyard, but I didn't. And then Dana's just standing there close to the bush. I'm like, get away from the bush.
Girl, back up. Yeah. For real.
Don't be a part of that bush.
No. And then I could go on and on, of course, but what else? The God helmet session was good.
Yeah, so that took place in Point Pleasant.
The God helmet is something I will never do. I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Yeah, that's pretty
deep.
That's pretty deep. Like,
yeah, it's pretty deep.
First of all, I don't think they have a helmet that would fit my head.
It's not even like a helmet, I don't think. It's like they taped the things, and I don't know. You'd have to watch it. But the God helmet was intense, in my opinion. And that episode where she's on Facebook Live in the cave.
Yeah.
They return to the cave, and she's getting all this bizarre stuff. Like, again, I just don't.
And didn't Greg have an experience where, like, a alien abduction experience during that movie, during one of those sessions?
Carl went and did the abduction experiment.
Is that where they were hearing the footsteps on the roof of the cabin?
And Dana was like pointing to the... Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
That was good.
And it is weird that when they do these things, shit starts being noticeably happening around them. You know, like footsteps and shit in the bushes. And and you don't really think about that stuff until you're doing something spooky. But on the surface, it's like, why does it start happening
now
when you start performing some kind of magic or some experiment that's super deep? But there's something in Hellier for everybody, whether you're on that psychic spiritual side or, you know, that ultra terrestrial level where you think you're communicating with beings that are not of this earth, whether you call them a ghost or a spirit or whatever. I think Greg is a big supporter of using the Estes method or other methods to contact more than just dead people. You know, that form of communication where you can reach out to extra and ultra terrestrials as a form of communication through that. And who knows? I would like to try. I think on a future episode of Shadow Things, we'll do an experiment right here and see if we can. We'll pick kind of a control topic where the person who's the receiver will not know what the hell the other half is going to be talking about.
Yeah.
Just to see if any of it jives. You know what I mean? Which would be kind of fun to do. So
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for that.
we just need to get us an SB7 and a pair of. Well, I do have some noise canceling headphones, so we're all set. I just need to get a spirit box, which I don't have.
We're gonna have to get it together.
Yeah.
But, yep, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. So great series. Highly recommend that you did not watch or listen to this podcast and you watched it before you tuned in. There are some other great podcasts to show some support to others. You can find some great podcasts about Hellier, and some of the teams members of the series are on those podcasts. So give it a listen. But what are we talking about next on the next show?
What are we talking about?
I don't know. I literally don't know. Like, I looked at our schedule moving forward, and I want to change some things up. So I think we're going to do a surprise topic and not the one that I had posted on our social media. So probably going to do something very random and exciting. But I know we do have a field trip coming up, and that'll probably be on a June episode of Shadow Things. Mm-hmm. So that'll be at a haunted location where we're going to do...
it's going to be wicked.
Yeah, some experiments and stuff while
Are we allowed
on site.
to disclose that location
Not
yet?
yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Not yet. We got to kind of solidify that deal. But yeah, we're moving and grooving here on the Shadow Things podcast. And check us out on all of your favorite podcast distribution points, Spotify, all that shit. Mm-hmm. Wherever you can find Joe Rogan, basically. Because we're kind of like Joe Rogan-ish.
Trying.
We're not, but yeah. So there it is, folks. Watch Hellier.
Please.
You won't regret it.
No.
Tell us what you think by emailing us at talk@shadowthings.net. Let us know what you think about Hellier, and we'll share it on the next episode. We can kind of do a quick recap.
Oh, yeah.
Got anything else?
Nope.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you on the flip side. And as always, stay in the light and out of the shadows.